Hello everyone and welcome to the SCORA August meeting 2016 Mexico pre-departure webinar. In this webinar we will aim at providing you an insight and a bit of an overview on what will be done in the SCORA sessions, and we will also discuss the procedure of the strategic plan, how has it been so far, and how we will proceed with it in the August meeting, as well as get an overview by Michalina on the policy statements that were proposed for this August meeting and that are related to the work that we do in SCORA. So let me first share with you our presentation. So, like I said, welcome. And first, I will start with a brief introduction to the SCORA International team that made these sessions possible and the work that we've been doing during the year possible as well. As you know, we have 5 regional assistants, Toyo, Carlos, Fahim, Sara, and Anna, and 1 development assistant. And then from the TO side, team of official side, it's Michalina as the liaison officer, taking care of the external affairs, and me as a SCORA director, for the internal management. And we have the great pleasure this time around for this August meeting that 3 wonderful people are joining us to help with the sessions preparation. So it's basically our SCORA support team for this August meeting. We have a support person from Ecuador, Carlos, he's the NORA. And then we have Valeria and Elisa. Valeria is the NORA from LIMS, Lithuania, and Elisa the NORA assistant from Leipzig, Lebanon, and they will be helping with the delivery and the logistics of the SCORA sessions. So now, getting a bit into the topic, this is a brief overview of the general agenda. As you see, there are some things that are way different than the previous GAs. But basically, we're going to focus a bit more on explaining the SCORA sessions. I just wanted to go through this a bit. As you see, we have sessions in the morning, and then we have also regional sessions. The first day for the regional sessions, we will have the standing committee related part, meaning that the SCORA angels from each region will be able to gather together and discuss some topics that the regional assistants have prepared for you. And the second day, sorry, not the second one, the last day, we have the training sessions, which are standing committee related sessions that Anna will let you know a bit more about later on. And we also have joint sessions, which are August 5th, day 4. This year we have a few that Carlos will let you know about. And the policy statement discussion, in which Michelle will explain how we will proceed with that. But now moving on to the SCORA-related sessions. As you see, we have quite a lot of topics covered during this agenda. This was created thanks to the call for input that we sent out and the input that we collected with your suggestions. So basically, the first day it's going to be an introduction. It is a must for people, especially for people that have never been to a GA before, or barely know what's the work that we do in SCORA International. But just to point it out, it's going to be quite shorter than the previous GA introduction. And then we have a session on adolescence health, which will be delivered by Misha, Anna, and myself. And then small working groups, which will be explained later on. Second day, we will cover topics such as HIV, as well as have a panel on SRHR, how to be an SRHR advocate, sexual and reproductive health and rights. We will have some really good externals invited. And after that, we have a forced debate, which is something that we wanted to keep from March meeting because it got a pretty good reception. And the third day, we'll cover topics such as obstetric violence, sexual harassment, and then we'll move on with sexuality in people living with disabilities and indigenous SRHR. Please note that, as you see, all those topics are really diverse. So basically, we tried to find sessions that were more specific than the ones in the March meeting, and that could provide at least a presentation or a small insight on specific topics wherein the suggestions that we got from all of you. you will see that the sessions go from 45 to 75 minutes, and we've been working with the sessions team to ensure that they have the perfect content. You can find in the survival kit the brief overview, like description on each one of them. And for the last 2 days, we have the joint sessions. We also have the SCORA officials candidate debate. As you know, in August meeting, we have elections, and we are going to elect who the next SCORA director or liaison officer for sexual and reproductive health issues, including HIV and AIDS, will be. And we will, we set up a specific time for you to raise your questions to them and for them to answer back. We will be collecting questions throughout the first 3 days, though, as well. And then we have the SCORA Duties Fair, in which you can all join and share the activities that you do in your country that are related to SCORA. And the last day, we will have the final discussion on a new SCORA strategic plan, which I'm going to talk about later, and some more thematic sessions, one on internet safety, one on beauty standards, and then we have one on backchasing and chemsex. Basically, I just mentioned the title of each one of the sessions, but we will have some time for questions after this. So if you feel like asking questions specifically on the content of the agenda, you will see that in the link for the event, there's a space in which you can leave questions right on the right of the screen. And okay, so now I'll leave the floor to Anna, who will explain to you the theme trainings that we have briefly. So Anna, go ahead.
So this year during August meeting, we have 2 different theme meetings. On the one hand, we have how to deal with a difficult audience, and on the other hand, we have how to deal with sensitive issues. So when it comes to how to deal with a difficult audience in a real session, when, for example, you're giving a workshop CZ related, the audience does not always pay attention. You have different roles. Some people want to participate. Some try to challenge you or change the topic, distract, etc. So during this session, you will learn how to tackle that, how to deal with such an audience, and how to deal with these characters. And on the other hand, we have the how to deal with sensitive issues within SCORA and also within healthcare professionals' daily life. You have to encounter a lot of sensitive situations, sensitive issues, and sensitive topics. For example, we have abortions or stigma on, for example, HIV, or how to deliver bad news to patients. So during this standing committee related training session, we will tackle how to deal with these situations, for example, with different role plays. Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the joint sessions, which will be joined by Carlos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're not mistaken. So for the joint sessions, we take the advantage that we will be in the Americas continent, and our first joint session is together with SCOF, with public health. That will be about Zika virus and the discussion that Zika has brought to the region with reproductive rights. The next joint session will be together with SCORP, which will be about primarily like early aged or child marriage, which is very important for other regions, like mainly in the Middle East, EMR, also some tribes in Americas and Asia. We also have sexual history taking that is very important, like for all CSC activities within SCORA, and this session will be done together with SCOMI and SCOPI. So basically, the joint sessions have like a general aim for you guys to have a broader view of these topics and how it interlinks with other types of discussions that we have within the federation and how we can use those like on a daily basis. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Just as a point of information, all these topics were also drawn out of the input that we got. And for instance, sexual history taking was something that was already done for the previous 2 GAs, but that was pointed out as something that people wanted it to be done again, so we put it as a joint session this time around with Scopy and Scomi. Other than that, Carlos has said everything. If you have any questions on the content or the why of these topics, please leave it in the questions box on the right, like I said before. And now small working groups.
It's me again.
Yeah.
Okay, so the small working groups are spaces where we generally use them as capacity building spaces, like to create specific actions, specific outcomes. Here, this time for Mexico, we are having lots of them taking into account the growth and the, let's say, development that we have this year. The first one would be about SCORA exchange, especially for those people who are interested in doing an exchange or have already passed or did an exchange in their countries. It would be super interesting to share not only the experiences but also encourage others to do a SCORA exchange and expand this capacity building space. We have the Idaho booklet. This year we had a very successful Idaho campaign, and we want to explore a little bit more on how we want to, let's say, express or develop the ideas that came out of the campaign. So if you want to develop those, it will be amazing. We're going to discuss the advocacy booklet made for including LGBT health within the medical curricula. And finally, we have the breastfeeding week, which will be discussing new activities in SCORA about breastfeeding, its importance, and how you can manage to do activities with this specific topic.
Actually, as a correction, breastfeeding week is happening the same time as the GA. So we wanted to have something special done during the GA, and that will be the main task of the small working group, to come up either with a video or with an action to do during the GA itself. But of course, as well, to discuss, like Carlos said, other things that you can do on this topic. Regarding small working groups, it's highly likely that we are going to add a couple more topics, since we have space for at least 5 small working groups. We're still balancing out some options that were either relevant for the past months in SCORA, or that some program coordinators may bring in. But we will let you know with time enough for you to at least get a hold of the topic and search for resources if you're interested on being in that specific small working group. So now we're going to move to the next part. Misha, the floor is yours for the policy statement. you, Misha. So I'm going to move on to the next part, which is the strategic plan of SCORA 2016-2019. I'm going to do this part together with Anna, that will explain a bit the selection and the process behind the regional priorities that were established. Basically, what I'm explain a bit how us with the creation of the strategic plan, where we are right now, and how do we want to proceed during the August meeting with this document that we have drafted right now and that's open for input. So basically, in December, we decided to set up a small working group that would work on the strategic plan together with the SCORA IT and supervised by the SCORA director. So far, we're actually done with the draft document after changing the structure a couple of times and making a SWOT analysis and identifying regional priorities. And we have a pretty good comprehensive document that's aimed at providing guidelines for like the SCORA work in an international and regional level for the upcoming 3 years. So you will see that it has some parts. The first, there's a part which is on regional priorities, but the main one, the body of the document that's how I like to call it, is the SCORA Golden Circle. So we followed a structure that was based on first identifying why we're doing something, and then how we want to do it, and then what is it that we have to do in order to achieve the why, which is, like, as per se, the main goal. So we have that separated into various parts. One is NMO involvement, the other one is capacity building, the other one is good productivity of the GAs and the regional meetings, and then we have also policy and advocacy, external representation, and visibility. Yeah, either like mostly internal, but also like from external part. And these are the parts that are more open to input. So I encourage you to search for the call either in the SCORA servers or in the Facebook group. The call for input for any member to provide their input is the 22nd of this month. So you still have around 5 days left for that. And yeah, basically after this, we're going to collect all the input. I must say also that there's a call for input that ends tomorrow for the SCORA IT to raise some red flags. So once all the input is collected, we will release a final draft of the strategic plan that will be presented in the August meeting session. So as you saw, like here in the last day, there's a final discussion. And we will give it around 1 hour to discuss and to maybe raise some red flags. And once we have it done, we will vote upon it and hopefully have a new strategic plan for the next 3 terms. The voting process will be according to the standing committee regulations, the SCORA regulations that are posted, or are actually inside the toolkit for the August meeting in the folder of useful documents, so you can check them if you want to. And that's it. Like basically, I will be answering questions regarding this on regarding this on a more general scale. We will not get into detail because that's why the session is for. And now I will also like Anna to explain briefly how we came up with the regional priorities that serve as somehow the main topics identified that we should work on following the strategic plan, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't work on other topics. So Anna, the floor is yours for that.
Thank you, Carlos. So how each region, the way of each region, how we proceed was that we brainstormed during general assemblies, during regional meetings, and also sometimes during online meetings with experienced SCORA angels out there. And after all the brainstorm, the regional assistants sat down and tried to form and trace the main important priorities for each region. For example, for the European region, we also had a small working group during our regional meeting. We already settled on the main priorities together there. So as you can see, it's not something that the regional assistants alone came up. We have gathered a lot of input from SCORA angels worldwide.
Thank you. And also, of course, if there's anything in the regional priorities that you would like to change, feel free to raise your points and to talk about it, like before the August meeting in the August meeting, because these consultations were extensive. But of course, there are some opinions that weren't included because we can, like, with this process, it's difficult to be 100% inclusive with all the opinions. So now it's the time for you to also raise some like red flags or point out things that you think that should be there, and we will find the best way to implement it into the final draft. And if not, we will work on it during the August meeting itself. And that's all for the strategic plan. And that's all for the content of this webinar. Now, as I said, there's some time for questions. You have the box in the right, and you should be asking your questions there. Basically, as I said, please keep them general regarding the content of the policy statement and the specific content of the strategic plan. We will have sessions specifically for that, unless it's something that you think it should be like mentioned or really relevant, or like something that like a warning sign. We will focus mostly on general questions like regarding logistics, regarding the agenda, or the content of some sessions. Oops. Okay. So now it's time for you to ask questions. Okay. Seems like we don't have many questions. What I'm going to encourage you to do is what we did, for instance, during the Idaho webinars. If you would like to leave some questions as comments in the YouTube link, then we will get back to them and make sure that they are replied in a prompt and proper way. Okay, so we got someone saying hello. Muna, do you have any questions that you would like to ask? There. Perfect. So how will the strategic plan be voted? Will we use the voting in session procedure? As I mentioned during the webinar itself, the standing committee regulations have a specific way of voting. So basically, each NMO with voting rights will have a vote, and it's basically a procedure that's going to happen during the sessions. So it's not going to happen during plenaries or any other kind of gathering, but rather during the discussion itself, right after the discussion. And as if you want to check more a bit how it works, I encourage you to just read the standing committee regulations that are in the toolkit that I shared in the Facebook group in the useful documents folder. There's one point that mentions specifically that only animals with voting rights, but that is something debatable that we can just agree upon as a consensus, because these regulations were done 2 years ago, accepted during the August meeting 2014, and they may need some changes. So maybe that's the moment to actually start implementing them a bit differently. So thank you, Carmina, for the question. Any other questions? No. Okay, so if there are not any more questions, or Carlos and Anna don't want to add anything else to what we've said, I think that we can call it a day and finish this webinar. Okay, I have another question. Okay, so Amuna from Jordan says that she's working on a project on sexual history in IFMSA Jordan, that she won't be able to attend the August meeting, unfortunately. But my advice would be that if you're referring to the actual training on sexual history taking, we will be leaving some resources in the toolkit and in the follow-up kit on this topic specifically, and and also like the minutes and the outcomes of the training. Sorry, the joint session with comments copy. So if you're interested in that topic and you want to see how we work on it in SCORA internationally, or what happened during that session in the August meeting, you can always check the follow-up or the resources that we're gonna hang for like people to prepare the session, and that may help you with the project that you have there. So I'll wait like 20 more seconds and then I'll stop broadcasting. I just want to remind you.
I have
Okay.
one question here.
Go ahead.
They're asking if is there going to be like a translation available in some parts of the sessions?
Okay, I knew that this was coming, but basically, as you saw, we have we have survival kits in 3 different languages: Spanish, English, and French. And taking into account the language barriers that we may encounter in Mexico, there's not going to be a simultaneous translation, but we'll make sure that the people are grouped in a way in which they can easily ask for a translation to what has been said in case they don't know what it is. And I think that among the IT and on the sessions team, we have people that speak Spanish, that speak German, that speak English, and that speak French. So at any moment, we are really like keen on actually like making small simultaneous translations to ensure that everyone understands everything perfectly and is willing, like that everyone is willing to actually participate, and that no language barriers affect that. Does that answer your question?
No, it's not mine, but I'll look into them
cool.
now. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers the question then. So is there any other question? We have 9 viewers, maybe 8 viewers. Maybe someone wants to raise another issue. If not, I will stop now. As I said, just please leave comments in the YouTube video. We'll make sure that we get back to you and reply to your questions there. Okay. So thank you guys for this. Hope it was useful. I know it was just a brief overview. Actually, the questions were meant to provide more specific information on each part. But we're really happy that you joined and eager to see you all in Mexico. So see you in just 2 weeks. Bye-bye.